They all left. They forgot about me. The words came out so matter-of-fact, so practiced, that Simon almost didn't register their weight at first. He stood there, pruning shears hanging loose in his hand, staring at the small girl on the swing. Her Wonder Woman costume should have looked cheerful, bright reds and blues against the afternoon sun. But something about the way she sat there, perfectly still, hands gripping the chains, made his stomach drop. "What do you mean they forgot you?" Simon asked, his voice careful as he stepped closer. Diana didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed fixed on the empty parking lot, scanning it the way someone watches for a bus they know isn't coming. "I was in the bathroom at the park," she said quietly. "When I came out, they were gone." Simon glanced around the Orlando park, seeing families scattered across the playground, hearing the distant hum of traffic. 20 minutes. He'd been trimming hedges for 20 minutes, and this girl hadn't moved once. She pointed to her backpack in the sand. "I packed snacks," she added, and her voice cracked just slightly. "So they wouldn't forget I was here." She swallowed hard. It didn't work. Simon knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. "Sweetheart, don't your parents love you?" Diana finally looked at him, and what he saw in those 8-year-old eyes made his chest tighten. "My stepmom has 5 children," she said simply. "I'm not one of them." His hands shook as he pulled out his phone and called the emergency contact labeled Dad in her backpack. The man, Marcus, answered on the 3rd ring, his voice shifting from annoyed to panicked in seconds. "Oh my God, Diana. Where is she? Is she okay? I'm coming back right now, I promise." Simon relayed their location, listened to Marcus's frantic apologies, his promises that this would never happen again. When he hung up and turned to Diana with what he hoped was a reassuring smile, ready to tell her everything would be okay, she looked up at him with the weariest expression he'd ever seen on a child. "He says that every time." Little did Simon know, those 4 words would pull him into a fight that would test everything he believed about family, justice, and how far one stranger would go to save a child the world had learned to overlook. To understand how Diana ended up on that swing, forgotten by the people who should have protected her most, we have to go back 3 weeks, to the house in Windermere where she'd been disappearing in plain sight. Before we get into that, here's a special shout-out to Diana Williams watching from Ireland. Thank you for being one of our amazing supporters and engaging with the channel. A character in the story was named in your honor. If you'd also like to get a shout-out in the next video, please like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, and you'll be given a shout-out. Thank you. Now let's get into the story. 3 weeks earlier, the Simpson house in Windermere looked like something from a magazine. Pristine white columns framed the entrance. Perfectly manicured lawns stretched toward the lake, and inside, marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers. It was the kind of house that screamed success, the kind of home where nothing could possibly be wrong. But at 6 in the morning, when Marcus Simpson's dress shoes clicked across those marble floors toward the garage, he walked right past Diana's bedroom without stopping. She heard him pause at each of her step-siblings' doors, a quiet, "Love you," whispered to sleeping children, before his footsteps faded and the garage door rumbled shut. Diana lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint. She'd stopped expecting good morning years ago. By 7, the kitchen had transformed into controlled chaos. Vanessa stood at the stove, flipping pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, arranging fresh strawberries into smiley faces on 5 matching plates. Her biological children, ranging from 6 to 12, filled the breakfast nook with chatter about soccer practice and piano recitals. "Mom, can you pass the syrup?" asked Ethan, the oldest. "Mom, I need my permission slip signed," added Grace. Mom. Diana slipped into the kitchen quietly, opening the cabinet where generic cereal boxes were kept. She poured herself a bowl of store-brand corn flakes, added milk, and ate standing at the counter while her step-siblings enjoyed their elaborate breakfast at the table. "Diana, you're dripping milk on the floor," Vanessa said without looking up from her phone, scrolling through what looked like Instagram filters. "Sorry." Diana grabbed a paper towel, wiping up the small drops. Vanessa didn't respond. She was already snapping photos of her children's breakfast, the Mickey Mouse pancakes perfectly arranged, the morning light streaming through the window just right. Diana knew better than to step into frame. She'd learned that lesson months ago. After breakfast, Diana retreated to her bedroom, the smallest in the house, tucked at the end of the hallway like an afterthought. while her step-siblings had matching furniture sets from Pottery Barn Kids, complete with coordinating bedding and custom name plaques. Diana's room was furnished with mismatched hand-me-downs. A dresser with a broken drawer, a desk chair with a wobbly leg, a bed frame that squeaked whenever she moved. She'd overheard Vanessa once, talking to a friend on the phone. We just don't see the point in spending money on new furniture for her. She's only here part-time anyway. Diana had wanted to correct her. She lived here full-time. Her mother had lost custody 2 years ago, but she'd learned that correcting Vanessa only made things worse. The school drop-off that morning played out like it always did. Vanessa pulled the Escalade up to Windermere Preparatory Academy, parking in the circular drive where other parents gathered for morning goodbyes. Before anyone could exit the vehicle, Vanessa turned to her 5 children. Okay, everyone smile. Mom needs a good shot for Instagram. The kids arranged themselves on the stone steps leading to the school entrance, Vanessa directing them like a photographer. Ethan, hand on Grace's shoulder. Sophie, tilt your head. Perfect, perfect. Diana stood off to the side, holding 3 backpacks that didn't belong to her, waiting for the photo session to end. A few other parents glanced her way, probably wondering why she wasn't included, but no one asked. No one ever asked. Beautiful. Love you guys. Have an amazing day. Vanessa blew kisses as her children headed into school. Diana handed over the backpacks silently and followed them inside. Mrs. Chun, Diana's 3rd-grade teacher, noticed her immediately during morning attendance. Diana was wearing a shirt 2 sizes too big, clearly a hand-me-down from one of her stepsisters, paired with pants that didn't quite match. Her shoes were scuffed, the laces frayed. Diana, can you stay back for just a moment? Mrs. Chin asked as the other students filed out for recess. Diana's heart sank. She approached the teacher's desk slowly. Sweetheart, is everything okay at home? Mrs. Chin's voice was gentle, concerned. Diana's response was automatic, practiced through repetition. Everything's fine, Mrs. Chun. I just got dressed in a hurry this morning. Are you sure? Because if you ever need to talk. I'm sure. Thank you. Diana smiled, the same smile she'd perfected in the mirror, the one that said everything is normal here, nothing to worry about. Mrs. Chin studied her for a long moment before nodding. Okay, go on to recess. That evening, dinner at the Simpson house was a formal affair. The family gathered around the massive dining table, Vanessa serving grilled salmon and roasted vegetables she'd spent the afternoon preparing. Marcus finally made it home by 7:30, loosening his tie as he took his seat at the head of the table. So, how was everyone's day? He asked, but his eyes never left his phone, thumb scrolling through what looked like work emails. I got an A on my history project, Ethan announced. That's great, buddy, Marcus said absently. I made the starting lineup for soccer, Grace added. Wonderful, sweetheart. Vanessa beamed, launching into detailed descriptions of each of her children's accomplishments. Diana ate her salmon quietly, cutting it into smaller and smaller pieces, hoping if she made herself small enough, the silence around her would hurt less. No one asked about her day. No one asked about anything. After dinner, while clearing her plate, Diana noticed something in the recycling bin by the garage door, a flash of red and green that looked familiar. She pulled it out carefully. Last year's Christmas card. The Simpson family, all dressed in matching red sweaters, standing in front of their decorated tree. Except Diana's face had been digitally removed. Cut out. Erased. Like she'd never been there at all. She stared at the empty space where she should have been, standing between Marcus and Vanessa, and felt something crack inside her chest. That night, alone in her room, Diana opened her desk calendar. She found the dates circled in red, their upcoming Orlando vacation, still 2 weeks away. With a purple pen, she wrote in tiny letters beneath the date. Maybe this time will be different. Even as she wrote it, she didn't believe it. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family, like nothing you did or said really mattered to the people who were supposed to love you most? Drop a comment and share your story. You're not alone, and neither is Diana. The Orlando airport buzzed with vacation energy, families in matching Disney shirts, kids clutching stuffed animals, parents juggling coffee cups and carry-ons. The Simpson family moved through the terminal like a well-oiled machine, except Diana lagged 20 feet behind, pulling her own worn suitcase, while Vanessa helped each of her children with their matching luggage sets. Mom, my backpack is so heavy, Sophie whined. Here, sweetie, Let me take that for you. Vanessa effortlessly shouldered the small pink backpack. Diana adjusted the straps of her own bag, which dug into her shoulders, and kept walking. Her suitcase had a broken wheel that made it veer left with every step, but she'd learned to compensate. At the gate, the agent scanned their boarding passes with a practiced smile. Simpson party of 7? She glanced up, counting. Let's see, we have Marcus, Vanessa, Ethan, Grace, Sophie, Oliver, Emma, and… She paused, looking at Diana. I'm sorry, are you traveling with this family? Yes, Diana said quietly. She's with us, Marcus confirmed, barely looking up from his phone. The agent's smile tightened slightly, but she processed Diana's ticket and waved them through. The flight was uneventful. Diana sat in a middle seat between two strangers while her family filled an entire row ahead of her. She watched the back of Marcus's head, watched him lean over to laugh at something Ethan showed him on his tablet, and told herself it was fine. They were on vacation. Things would be different once they got to Orlando. But checking into the Grand Floridian Resort shattered that hope within minutes. Reservation for Simpson, Marcus told the front desk agent, sliding his credit card across the marble counter. The agent typed efficiently, then frowned. I have a reservation for Simpson, party of 7. 2 adults and 5 children. But I'm showing the children as Ethan, Grace, Sophie, Oliver, and Emma Simpson, plus 1 Diana. Hartley. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's a mistake. She's Diana Simpson. My system shows Hartley as the last name on file. It's a clerical error, Marcus said sharply. Can we just fix it and get our room keys? The agent nodded quickly, making the corrections, but Diana caught the look exchanged between her and another staff member. She knew what they were thinking. She always knew. Universal Studios the next morning should have been magical. The towering castle, the themed rides, families laughing together. Diana had imagined this moment for weeks. But reality set in quickly. Diana, wait here while we grab food. Vanessa instructed, pointing to a bench outside a burger restaurant. We'll bring you something. Diana sat obediently while her family disappeared into the crowded restaurant. 30 minutes passed. They emerged with food for themselves, already eating, having apparently forgotten the promise to bring her anything. Oh, did you not get anything? Vanessa asked, noticing Diana's empty hands. You said you'd. The line was too long. You can grab something later. It happened again at the bathroom break. Diana, just stand right here and watch our bags. Again while they got ice cream. Just wait on this bench, we'll be right back. Each time, Diana waited. Each time, she felt a little more like luggage left behind for convenience. The superhero photo opportunity was the worst. Spider-Man and Captain America posed near Avengers Campus, and Vanessa immediately corralled her 5 children for pictures. Okay guys, big smiles. This is going on Instagram. Diana stood off to the side, holding everyone's bags again, watching as Vanessa snapped photo after photo. She was so focused on getting the perfect shot that she didn't notice Marcus finally spotting Diana alone. Diana, get in there, he said, gesturing awkwardly. Oh yes, Diana. Go ahead, Vanessa added without enthusiasm. Diana handed off the bags and stepped into frame, squeezing in at the very edge. Spider-Man put a friendly hand on her shoulder. Hey there, Wonder Woman. Love the shirt. Diana managed a small smile. The photo was taken, and then Vanessa immediately checked her phone. The lighting's weird on that one. Let's do another with just my kids. Diana stepped back out. No one protested. Dinner at Margaritaville that evening was the final confirmation that nothing had changed. The restaurant overlooked the water, tiki torches flickering as the sun set. It should have been beautiful. Magical, even. All right, everyone, order whatever you want, Marcus announced, studying the menu. Ethan ordered the premium cheeseburger. Grace got the coconut shrimp. Sophie, Oliver, and Emma all selected entrees from the kids' menu that came with specialty drinks in souvenir cups. When the server reached Diana, she opened her mouth to order the fish tacos. Actually, Diana, just get a side, Vanessa interrupted. Maybe the fries or something. We're watching expenses on this trip. Diana's face flushed. Okay, just the fries then? The server asked gently. Yes, please. Marcus didn't even look up from his phone. The step-siblings were already distracted by their souvenir cups. No one noticed Diana's plate of fries next to their full meals. No one noticed her picking at them slowly, trying to make them last, trying to fill the hollow feeling that had nothing to do with hunger. Back at the hotel, the sleeping arrangements were exactly what Diana expected. The suite had 2 bedrooms with comfortable beds where the step-siblings spread out, claiming space and pillows. A rollaway cot was wheeled into the corner of the living room for Diana, lumpy, narrow, positioned right next to the noisy air conditioning unit. "Is that okay for you?" Marcus asked absently, already heading to his own room. "It's fine," Diana said automatically. That night, lying on the uncomfortable cot while her step-siblings laughed and whispered in the other rooms, Diana stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow they were going to SeaWorld. She reached for her backpack, still packed from the day, and quietly added extra snacks, granola bars, crackers, a juice box. Just in case. Just in case they forgot again. Just in case she needed to wait again. Just in case she needed to be ready to take care of herself, because no one else would. She zipped the backpack closed and tried to sleep, but a small voice in her head whispered what she'd been trying to ignore. Maybe this time wasn't different. Maybe it never would be. If you're watching this and thinking someone needs to help Diana, then hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to get a whole lot more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Plus, subscribing helps us share more stories that matter. SeaWorld had been magical, at least for the first few hours. Diana had watched the dolphins leap, marveled at the sea turtles, even smiled during the orca show. For brief moments, she'd felt like part of the family as they moved through the park together. But as closing time approached and they headed toward the exit, that fragile feeling shattered. "Diana, wait on that bench," Vanessa instructed, pointing to a wooden seat near the guest services building. "There's an issue with our tickets. We need to sort it out before we leave." "Okay." Diana sat down obediently, setting her backpack beside her. "We'll be right back," Marcus added, already following Vanessa toward the customer service desk. The rest of the family followed. Ethan, Grace, Sophie, Oliver, Emma, chattering excitedly about the day, about the sunset catamaran tour they were heading to next in Key West. Diana watched them disappear into the crowd of departing guests. She waited. 30 minutes passed. Families streamed past her, heading to parking lots, laughing about their day. Diana checked her watch, a cheap digital one she'd gotten for her birthday 2 years ago, back when her mother still remembered those things. She told herself they were probably dealing with something complicated. Ticket issues could take time. An hour passed. The crowds thinned. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the plaza. Diana's stomach growled, reminding her she'd only eaten those fries last night and a shared pretzel today. She reached into her backpack, pulled out a granola bar, and ate it slowly. She was good at making food last. Meanwhile, in parking section D, a different lot than where they'd entered, the Simpson family loaded into their rental van with the efficiency of a NASCAR pit crew. Bags were tossed in the back. Kids claimed their seats. Marcus started the engine while Vanessa pulled up directions to Key West on her phone. "Everyone buckle?" Marcus asked. "Mom, I need the bathroom," Oliver whined. "You'll have to wait, honey. We're already running late for the boat tour." Vanessa did a quick count, her eyes sweeping the 2 back rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. "We're good." She'd counted her 5 biological children. The number she always counted. The number that felt complete to her. Marcus pulled out of the parking spot, navigating toward the exit. No one noticed the empty seat. No one noticed the missing backpack. No one asked, "Where's Diana?" The van merged onto the highway heading south toward Key West, and Diana's absence remained unnoticed, unremarked, unimportant. Back at the bench, Diana watched another hour crawl by. The initial patience turned to confusion, then to a creeping realization she didn't want to acknowledge. The park had closed. Security was doing final sweeps. A staff member had already asked if she was waiting for someone, and Diana had nodded quickly, said yes, they'd be right back. But they weren't coming back. She knew it with a certainty that sat heavy in her chest. She'd been forgotten. Again, Diana stood up, slinging her backpack over her shoulder, and walked across the street to a small neighborhood park she'd noticed earlier. If she was going to wait, at least she could wait somewhere that didn't have security guards asking questions she didn't want to answer. The playground was empty in the late afternoon heat. Diana walked to the swing set, sat down, and wrapped her hands around the chains. She didn't swing. She just sat there, watching the parking lot across the street, watching for a rental van that might come back. That probably wouldn't come back. She wasn't crying. She'd learned a long time ago that tears didn't bring people back. From across the park, Simon had been trimming hedges along the property line of a small office building. It was mindless work, the kind he preferred, honestly. Trimming hedges didn't require thinking about the group home he'd aged out of at 18, didn't require remembering the foster families who'd sent him back, didn't require facing any of the things he usually worked hard to avoid. But something caught his attention. A small figure on the swings, wearing what looked like a superhero costume. At first, he thought she was just playing. Then he realized she wasn't moving. Not swinging. Not playing. Just sitting there with an unnatural stillness that made something in his chest tighten. He tried to focus on the hedge. Told himself it wasn't his business. Kids sat on swings all the time. But 20 minutes passed, and she still hadn't moved. Hadn't been joined by any parent. Hadn't called out to anyone. Simon set down his shears and walked toward the playground, his work boots crunching on the gravel path. As he got closer, he could see she was young, maybe 8 or 9, with braided hair and a Wonder Woman t-shirt that had seen better days. Her backpack sat in the sand beside the swing, and she was staring at the parking lot like she was waiting for something. Or someone. "Hey there, Wonder Woman," Simon said gently as he approached. Diana didn't startle. She barely reacted at all, which worried him more than anything. "Where are your parents?" he asked, keeping his voice friendly, non-threatening. Diana didn't look at him at first. She kept her eyes on that parking lot, on the empty space where a van should have been. When she finally spoke, her voice was so quiet he almost didn't hear it. "On vacation." She paused, swallowed hard. "Without me." Simon felt the words hit him like a physical blow. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Diana pointed to her backpack. "I packed snacks so they wouldn't forget I was here." Her voice cracked, just slightly, before she steadied it. It didn't work. Simon's mind raced. How long had she been here? Where was her family? Why wasn't anyone looking for her? He knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level, seeing exhaustion and resignation in eyes that should have been filled with childhood wonder after a day at SeaWorld. "Don't your parents love you?" The question came out before he could stop it. Too raw, too honest. Diana finally looked at him. Really looked at him. And what Simon saw in her expression broke something inside him he didn't know could still break. "My stepmom has 5 children," Diana said simply. "I'm not one of them." Pause for a second. "If you found a child alone like this, would you get involved or assume someone else would handle it? Be honest in the comments." Simon's hands trembled slightly as he pulled out his phone. "Diana, do you have a phone? A way to contact your parents?" Diana nodded and reached into her backpack, producing a basic flip phone, the kind parents gave kids for emergencies only. She handed it to Simon without a word. He scrolled through the contacts. Only 3 numbers: Dad, Vanessa, and emergency. He pressed Dad. It rang 4 times before Marcus answered, his voice clipped with irritation. "Diana, we're in the middle of..." "This isn't Diana," Simon interrupted. "My name is Simon. I'm at a park across from SeaWorld with your daughter. She's been here alone for over 3 hours." Silence. "Then what? What are you talking about?" "She's with..." Marcus's voice cut off abruptly. Simon heard muffled conversation in the background, heard Marcus saying something sharp to someone, heard a woman's voice responding defensively. "Oh my God." Marcus's voice came back, now laced with panic. "Where is she? Is she okay? We're coming back right now. I swear, there was a mix-up with the..." "She's physically fine," Simon said, his voice carefully controlled. "But she's been waiting for you for 3 hours. She thought you'd come back. We're in Key West. We're turning around now. We'll be there in 90 minutes, maybe less." How do you drive 90 miles without noticing your daughter isn't in the car? The question hung in the air like an accusation. "It was an accident," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its conviction. "We thought she was. There was confusion. We'll be there soon. Don't let her go anywhere." Simon hung up and immediately dialed the second number. "Vanessa." She answered on the first ring. "Diana, where are you? Your father is having a complete meltdown." "This is Simon. I'm the person who found Diana alone at a park. She's been waiting for..." "Look, we're handling it." Vanessa cut him off, her voice cold. "Marcus is driving back. This is a family matter, and we don't need some stranger inserting himself into..." "She's 8 years old, and you left her at a theme park for 3 hours. It was an honest mistake. These things happen with large families. We'll be there soon." She said this has happened before. Silence. Then Vanessa's voice dropped to something dangerous. I don't know who you think you are, but you need to stay out of our business. The line went dead. When Simon tried calling back, it went straight to voicemail. She'd blocked him. Simon looked at Diana, who was watching him with that same resigned expression. Like she'd seen this play out before. Like she knew exactly how this would end. Are you hungry? Simon asked gently. Diana hesitated, then nodded. 20 minutes later, they sat at a picnic table outside a McDonald's. Diana working through a happy meal while Simon tried to process what he was witnessing. He'd bought her food and she'd thanked him 3 times, like it was some extraordinary gift instead of basic care. Diana, can you tell me what it's like at home? Simon asked carefully. Diana dipped a fry in ketchup, considering. It's fine. Is it? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, Vanessa has 5 kids. Real kids. Her kids. They get new clothes and birthday parties, and their pictures on the wall. I get what's left over. What do you mean? I mean I wear their old clothes when they outgrow them. I mean they take family photos and I hold the bags. I mean, her voice caught. I mean sometimes I think they forget I exist until they need me to do something. Simon felt something crack inside his chest. He'd lived this. Different circumstances, different family, but he'd lived the experience of being the kid no one really wanted. The foster kid who was moved from home to home, always temporary, always waiting for someone to decide he was worth keeping. Can I see your phone again? He asked. Diana handed it over. Simon opened the contacts, then checked the recent calls. Nothing unusual except, there, saved in photos. A school emergency contact card. Diana's name at the top. Marcus Simpson listed as primary contact, Vanessa Simpson as secondary. And a third name, crossed out aggressively in red ink. Celeste Hartley, mother. Diana, who's Celeste? Diana's eyes filled with tears for the first time. My mom. My real mom. I'm not supposed to talk about her. Why not? Because Vanessa says she's dangerous. Says she left us. But I remember. Diana's voice dropped to barely a whisper. I remember her different. I remember her loving me. Before Simon could respond, a police cruiser pulled into the parking lot. Simon had called them while waiting for the food, knowing this situation needed official documentation. 2 officers approached, a middle-aged woman and a younger male partner. You're the one who called about the abandoned child? The female officer asked. Yes. Her name is Diana Simpson. Her family left her at SeaWorld over 3 hours ago. The officers took statements, photographed Diana's emergency contact card, called the hotel to verify the Simpson reservation. That's when they discovered it. We've got a problem, the younger officer said, looking at his laptop. The reservation shows Diana under a different last name. Diana Hartley, not Simpson. That's why the park's security system didn't flag her as connected to the Simpson party when they left. That's not an accident, Simon said quietly. The female officer met his eyes, and he saw she understood. This wasn't a clerical error. This was systematic. Simon made a decision in that moment that would change everything. He looked at the crossed-out name on Diana's emergency contact card, at the number that someone had tried to erase but was still barely visible. I need to make a call, he told the officers. They nodded, giving him space. Simon dialed the number, his heart pounding. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a woman's voice answered, breathless and desperate. Hello? Who is this? My name is Simon. I'm calling about Diana. Is she okay? The question came out like a scream. Please tell me she's okay. Please tell me nothing happened to her. The raw desperation in that voice, the immediate, unconditional love, told Simon everything he needed to know about who Diana's real family was. Simon's about to make a choice that could cost him everything. What would you do in his position? Follow the rules or follow your conscience? Tell us in the comments. She's safe, Simon said quickly, hearing the panic in Celeste's voice. She's with me. There was an incident at SeaWorld. Her family left without her. The sound that came through the phone was somewhere between a sob and a gasp. They left her? They actually, Celeste's voice broke. Is she hurt? Is she scared? She's okay physically. But I think she needs you. Where are you? I'll come right now. I'll get on a plane. I'll drive. I don't care. Ma'am, I need you to slow down and tell me what's going on, Simon interrupted gently. Because Diana's emergency contact card has your name crossed out. Because she's listed under a different last name at the hotel. Because none of this makes sense unless Marcus wanted to erase me completely, Celeste finished, her voice hardening. which is exactly what he did. Over the next 20 minutes, sitting at that McDonald's picnic table while Diana quietly played with her Happy Meal toy and the police officers made calls nearby, Celeste told Simon everything. She'd been married to Marcus for 10 years. Diana was their only child together. The marriage had its problems. Marcus worked constantly, building his real estate empire, while Celeste taught second grade and tried to keep their family connected. But they were managing. They were okay. Then Vanessa showed up, Celeste said, her voice tight. She was a client, looking at properties. Marcus started working late, missing dinners, taking calls at odd hours. I suspected something, but I didn't have proof. Then one day, I came home early from a parent-teacher conference and found divorce papers on the kitchen counter. Let me guess, Simon said. Filed 3 weeks after Vanessa entered the picture? How did you know? Because I'm looking at a woman who systematically erases Diana from her own family. This didn't start with forgetting her at SeaWorld. Celeste's breath caught. She does that. She erases her. In every way that matters. The custody battle had been brutal and one-sided. Marcus had money, serious money, and high-powered attorneys. Celeste had a teacher's salary and a public defender who was handling 17 cases simultaneously. Marcus painted her as unstable, emotional, unable to provide the lifestyle Diana deserved. He told the judge I was keeping Diana from him, that I was trying to alienate her from her father. But that wasn't true. I just wanted shared custody. I just wanted to still be her mother. Celeste's voice cracked. And then he married Vanessa 6 months after our divorce was final, and suddenly Diana had a new family. Suddenly supervised visits were denied because I was deemed disruptive to family stability. I haven't seen my daughter in 2 years except in photographs I have to beg Diana's teachers to send me. Simon looked at Diana, who'd abandoned her toy and was watching him with those 2 knowing eyes. Diana, do you remember your mom? Diana nodded slowly. She used to read to me every night. She made my Halloween costumes. I was a dragon once, and she sewed all the scales by hand. She'd make pancakes shaped like animals on Saturday mornings. Diana's voice got quieter. She made me feel like I mattered. You do matter, Celeste said through the phone, her voice breaking. You matter more than anything in this world. Mom. Diana's voice was so small, so full of hope it hurt to hear. Baby, I'm here. I never left. I never wanted to leave. Simon handed Diana the phone. The officers had been listening to everything, their expressions growing grimmer by the minute. The female officer stepped away to make more calls, to child services, to her supervisor, to someone who could make this right. Diana pressed the phone to her ear. Mommy. Oh, sweetheart, I've missed you so much. Vanessa said you didn't want me anymore. Said you chose to leave. That's a lie, baby. The biggest lie anyone ever told you. I fought for you. I'm still fighting for you. The conversation lasted 10 minutes. Diana crying softly, Celeste sobbing through reassurances, 2 years of separation spilling out in fragments of, I love you, and I never stopped thinking about you. When Diana finally handed the phone back to Simon, the female officer approached with paperwork. Given the circumstances, the abandonment, the discrepancy in names, the documented pattern of neglect, and the fact that the biological mother is willing and able to take custody, we're approving an emergency arrangement, she said. You can transport Diana to her mother in Jacksonville. We'll notify Mr. Simpson and provide him with the documentation. He's not going to like this, Simon said. I don't particularly care what he likes. A child was left at a theme park for 3 hours. That's the definition of endangerment. Simon walked to his car, a beat-up Honda Civic with a broken air conditioner and a dent in the passenger door. He cleared the passenger seat of work equipment and made space for Diana's small backpack. Meanwhile, Celeste was on the phone frantically making arrangements, clearing her small apartment in Jacksonville to receive the daughter she hadn't held in 2 years. As Diana climbed into the car, she looked up at Simon with a question that had been building since the moment he'd approached her on the swing. Simon, why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Simon paused, his hand on the car door. He thought about the foster homes he'd cycled through, the families who'd looked through him like he was invisible, the teachers who'd noticed something was wrong but never quite intervened, the system that had failed him over and over. Because someone should have helped me when I was your age, he said quietly, and no one did. Diana's eyes filled with understanding beyond her years. Were you forgotten too? In a different way. But yeah, I was. Simon started the engine, plugged Jacksonville into his GPS, 4 hours north on I-95. As they pulled out of the parking lot, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. You'll regret this. Simon's jaw tightened. He deleted the message and drove. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. If this story is making you feel something, anger, hope, anything, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens next is going to test everything you believe about family, justice, and doing the right thing. And I promise you'll want to see how this ends. The first 20 minutes of the drive were silent except for the hum of the highway and the rattling air vents. Diana sat in the back seat, staring out the window as Orlando faded behind them, replaced by stretches of Florida highway lined with palm trees and billboards advertising alligator farms and outlet malls. Simon glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You doing okay back there? Yeah. Her voice was quiet. Then, after a pause, Simon, how much trouble am I going to get in? You're not in trouble, Diana. None of this is your fault. But Daddy's going to be mad. And Vanessa's going to say I caused problems again. Again? Simon's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What do you mean again? Diana was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, the words started coming. Vanessa made Daddy delete Mom's number from his phone, she said. I saw her do it. It was maybe 6 months after they got married. She told him Mom was a dangerous influence, that she was trying to manipulate me against them. She said keeping Mom in my life would confuse me. And your dad just agreed? Daddy agrees with everything Vanessa says. Diana's voice was matter of fact, like she was describing the weather. He's always at work or on his phone. I don't think he really sees what happens at home. What does happen at home? The floodgates opened. Diana told him about the family photos, how Vanessa would arrange elaborate shots of her 5 biological children, posting them to Instagram with captions about her babies and blessed family. Diana would watch from the side, sometimes holding bags or coats, never included in the frame. One time I asked if I could be in a picture, Diana said. Vanessa said yes, but when I saw it posted later, I'd been cropped out. Just cut right out of the frame. She told him about birthdays. Her step-siblings got themed parties at trampoline parks and laser tag arenas, their achievements celebrated with elaborate cakes and dozens of friends. Diana's 8th birthday had passed without acknowledgement. No cake, no presents, no happy birthday. When she'd reminded Marcus, he'd looked guilty and promised they'd celebrate next weekend. They never did. My teacher, Mrs. Chun, she noticed once that I was wearing the same clothes a lot. She asked if everything was okay at home. I told her yes, because I didn't know how to explain that I only have 3 outfits that fit while my step-siblings have closets full of new clothes. Diana's voice wavered. I didn't want her to think I was ungrateful. Vanessa always says I should be grateful. Simon felt his blood pressure rising with each revelation. Diana, you shouldn't have to be grateful for basic care. That's not how families are supposed to work. I know. Diana's voice dropped to barely a whisper. That's why I started writing everything down. What do you mean? I have a journal. I hide it under my mattress. I write down everything. Dates, what happened, what was said. I wrote about getting cropped out of photos. About my birthday being forgotten. About waiting 3 hours at SeaWorld. She paused. I thought maybe someday, someone would need to know. Someone would need proof. Simon's throat tightened. An 8-year-old child, documenting her own systematic erasure because she knew no one would believe her word against her family's appearance of perfection. That's really smart, Diana. Really brave. Is it? Sometimes I feel like I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Like maybe I'm the problem. You're not the problem. Not even a little bit. Simon checked his rearview mirror out of habit, and that's when he noticed it. A black Mercedes, 4 cars back, maintaining a steady distance in the right lane. Same make and model as the one Marcus drove. Simon told himself it was coincidence. Mercedes were common in Florida. But something about the way it matched his speed, never getting closer or falling behind, made the hair on his neck stand up. His phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Simon ignored it. The phone rang again 30 seconds later. Again, Simon declined the call. 3rd call. 4th. 5th. 6th. Each time, Simon felt his unease growing. He checked the mirror again. The Mercedes was still there, now 3 cars back. On the 7th call, Simon finally answered, putting the phone on speaker. Where the hell do you think you're taking my daughter? Marcus's voice was ice cold, nothing like the panicked, apologetic father from hours earlier. I'm taking her to her mother. The police approved. I don't care what some small-town cops approved. You have no legal right to Diana. You're not family. You're not law enforcement. You're just some random guy who decided to play hero. And now you're committing a felony. The felony was leaving an 8-year-old at a theme park for 3 hours, Simon shot back. That was an accident. What you're doing right now, is kidnapping. And my lawyers are already drafting charges. Diana had gone very still in the back seat, her eyes wide. Your lawyers can take it up with the Orlando Police Department, who have all the documentation, Simon said, trying to keep his voice steady. Diana deserves to be with someone who actually remembers she exists. You don't know anything about our family. You don't know what Celeste is. She's unstable. She lost custody for a reason. And you're delivering my daughter directly into. I've heard enough. Simon hung up. His phone immediately buzzed with a text. Pull over. Now. Or you'll regret this more than you can imagine. Simon glanced in the mirror. The black Mercedes had moved up, now just 2 cars behind them. Close enough that he could see through the windshield. But the driver wasn't Marcus. It was someone else. Someone broad-shouldered and expressionless. Simon's pulse quickened. This wasn't just an angry father making threats. This was something more calculated, more dangerous. Diana, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. I need you to stay quiet for a bit, okay? Everything's fine. I just need to concentrate on driving. Diana nodded, but Simon saw her knuckles turn white as she gripped her backpack. The Mercedes maintained its distance, a silent promise that this drive north was about to get a lot more complicated. Diana kept a hidden journal because she knew no one would believe her. Have you ever had to document your own truth because you knew people wouldn't take your word? Share your story in the comments. Simon's phone rang again. Marcus. He almost didn't answer, but something told him he needed to hear what was coming next. I'm giving you one last chance, Marcus said, his voice deadly calm. Pull over, returned Diana, and I won't press charges. You'll walk away from this clean. I have paperwork from Orlando PD approving this transport, Simon replied, watching the Mercedes in his mirror. This is legal. What you did, leaving her at SeaWorld, that's what's illegal. You think some small-town cop's signature protects you? I have 5 attorneys on retainer. They'll bury you in legal fees before you even see a courtroom. You'll lose your job, your savings, everything. Is this really the hill you want to die on for a kid you met 3 hours ago? Simon's jaw tightened. Yes. Then you're a fool. The line went dead. That's when the Mercedes made its move. It accelerated suddenly, engine roaring as it pulled into the right lane, coming up alongside Simon's Honda. Simon's heart hammered as he glanced over, and felt ice flood his veins. The driver wasn't Marcus. It was a man Simon had never seen before. Broad-shouldered, buzz-cut, wearing sunglasses despite the fading daylight. His expression was completely neutral, almost bored, as he matched Simon's speed exactly. Professional. This wasn't an angry father chasing his daughter. This was someone hired to do a job. Simon. Diana's voice was small from the back seat. Why is that car so close? It's okay, sweetheart. Just stay calm. But Simon's mind was racing. If Marcus had hired someone, if he was willing to go this far, then this wasn't just about custody. This was about control. About making sure Diana never reached Celeste. About ensuring his version of the family remained unchallenged. The Mercedes inched closer, its front bumper now aligned with Simon's driver's side door. Simon made a split-second decision. Without signaling, without warning, he jerked the wheel right and took the next exit. His tires squealed as he veered across 2 lanes, barely making the off-ramp. The Mercedes tried to follow but couldn't cut across traffic in time. Simon watched in his mirror as it shot past the exit, brake lights flashing. Hold on, Diana. Simon navigated back roads through rural Florida, 2-lane highways cutting through orange groves and small towns with names like Yeehaw Junction and Fort Drum. His hands were slick with sweat on the steering wheel. He took random turns, checking his mirror obsessively, trying to put distance between them and whoever was driving that Mercedes. Diana had gone silent, gripping her backpack like a lifeline. Simon, what's happening? Her voice cracked with fear. Why are they chasing us? I don't know, baby, but I promise I'm going to keep you safe. He kept driving, kept turning, kept checking the mirror. 10 minutes passed. 15. No sign of the Mercedes. Maybe they'd lost them. Maybe. His phone lit up with a message. Not from Marcus this time. Unknown number. Simon's blood turned to ice as he opened it. It was a photo. Celeste's apartment building in Jacksonville, a modest three-story complex with faded blue siding. The timestamp read 15 minutes ago. They had people at the destination. Simon's breath came faster. This wasn't just about stopping Diana from reaching Celeste. This was coordinated. Vanessa and Marcus had resources, money, connections. They could have people watching Celeste's apartment. Could have someone waiting to intercept them when they arrived. Simon, you're scaring me. Diana's voice pulled him back. He forced his voice to stay calm. Everything's okay. We're just taking a different route, that's all. Scenic way. But his mind was screaming. He'd thought he was helping a forgotten child reunite with her mother. He hadn't realized he was taking on people who had the resources to turn this into something dangerous. Another text. Turn around. Last warning. Simon's hands trembled on the wheel. He thought about his simple life, his landscaping job, his studio apartment, his carefully maintained distance from anything complicated. He'd spent years avoiding exactly this kind of situation. And now here he was, on back roads in rural Florida, being pursued by hired professionals, with an 8-year-old girl depending on him. He could turn around, hand Diana back, walk away clean, just like Marcus offered. Or he could keep driving into whatever trap was waiting in Jacksonville. Simon looked in the rearview mirror at Diana, saw her scared eyes watching him, waiting to see if he was another adult who would let her down. He made his choice. Diana, I need you to trust me, okay? Okay. Simon spotted a Publix supermarket ahead, brightly lit, parking lot crowded with evening shoppers. He pulled in fast, parking directly under a security camera and a street light. Why are we stopping? Diana asked. Because we need help. Simon dialed 911, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Simon Hayes. I'm transporting an 8-year-old girl to her mother under an emergency arrangement approved by Orlando PD. We're being followed by what I believe is a hired vehicle, and I've received threatening messages, including a photo of our destination. I need a police escort for the remainder of our drive to Jacksonville. The dispatcher's tone sharpened. Are you in immediate danger? I don't know, but I have a child with me, and people with significant resources trying to stop us from reaching her mother. What's your current location? Simon gave the Publix address. We're parked under security cameras in a well-lit area, but I'm not moving until I have police protection. Units are on the way. Stay where you are. Simon hung up and looked at Diana. We're going to wait here for the police, and then they're going to make sure we get to your mom safely. Okay. Diana nodded, but her voice was barely a whisper. Simon, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. Hey, no. Simon turned in his seat to look at her directly. None of this is your fault. You hear me? Not one single bit. Tears streamed down Diana's face. But if I hadn't been forgotten, if I'd just been better. Diana Simpson, you listen to me. You are not the problem. You have never been the problem. And I'm going to make sure you get to your mom if it's the last thing I do. In the distance, Simon heard sirens approaching. Simon just put himself in serious danger for a child he met hours ago. Would you risk everything for someone else's kid, or would you have handed Diana back to her father? No judgment, just curious what you'd actually do. 2 patrol cars pulled into the Publix parking lot within minutes, their lights casting red and blue shadows across the evening shoppers. Simon stepped out of his Honda, keeping himself between the officers and Diana, who watched nervously through the back window. I'm Officer Martinez, said the female officer who'd responded. You called about being followed? Simon explained everything. The SeaWorld abandonment, the emergency arrangement from Orlando PD, Marcus's threatening calls, the Mercedes with the hired driver, the photo of Celeste's apartment. He showed them the paperwork, the text messages, everything. Officer Martinez reviewed the documents carefully while her partner, Officer Chun, did a perimeter check of the parking lot. This all checks out, Martinez said finally. Orlando PD approved the transport, and given the circumstances, the pursuit, the threats, we can provide an escort to Jacksonville. That's about 90 minutes from here. Thank you. Simon felt something unnod in his chest. No thanks necessary. A child was endangered, and you stepped up. That takes courage. As the officers coordinated on their radios, arranging additional units to meet them at county lines, Diana climbed out of the car and stood next to Simon. She looked up at him with those 2 old eyes and asked the question that had been building since that playground swing. Simon, why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Simon knelt down to her level, The parking lot asphalt rough under his knees. You want the real answer? Diana nodded. When I was about your age, I was in foster care. I bounced between families, 5 different homes in 3 years. Some were okay, some weren't. But in all of them, I felt like what you described. Invisible. Like I was just taking up space until they decided I wasn't worth the trouble anymore. Diana's eyes widened with recognition. I remember sitting in school, wearing clothes that didn't fit right, watching other kids with their parents at pickup. I remember hoping someone, a teacher, a neighbor, anyone, would notice something was wrong and actually do something about it. Simon's voice caught, but everyone just walked by. Everyone assumed someone else would handle it. So no one did. That's so sad, Diana whispered. Yeah, it was. But you know what? Today, in that park, I had a choice. I could be like all those people who walked by me, or I could be the person I needed when I was 8 years old. Simon managed a small smile. So that's why I'm helping you. Because someone should have helped me, and they didn't. And I'm not going to let that happen to you. Diana threw her arms around Simon's neck, hugging him fiercely. Thank you for seeing me. Those words broke something in Simon's chest and rebuilt it stronger. The convoy formed quickly, one patrol car in front, Simon's Honda in the middle, another patrol car behind. They pulled back onto I-95 North as the sun finally set, painting the floor to sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time since this all began, Simon allowed himself to breathe. They had police protection. They had documentation. They had a clear route to Jacksonville. Diana was safe. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Diana had finally relaxed, her head leaning against the window, watching the highway lights streak past. She looked peaceful. For the first time today, she looked like a child who believed someone was actually going to protect her. Simon's phone rang. He almost didn't answer, didn't want to hear Marcus's voice again, didn't want more threats. But the number was different. Not Marcus. Not the unknown number from before. A new number entirely. He answered cautiously. Hello, Mr. Simon. The voice was female, smooth, and controlled, with the kind of calm that came from people used to getting their way. This is Vanessa Simpson. I think we need to talk. Simon's jaw tightened. I have nothing to say to you. Please, just hear me out. I know how this looks. I know Marcus's approach has been aggressive. But there are things you don't know. Things about Celeste that Diana's too young to understand. I know enough. Do you? Did Celeste tell you why she lost custody? Did she mention the court-ordered psychiatric evaluations? Simon's grip tightened on the steering wheel. She said Marcus had better lawyers. That's what she would say. Vanessa's voice carried a note of something that almost sounded like sympathy. Mr. Simon, I'm not the villain here. I know Diana feels forgotten sometimes, and that's something I need to work on. But what you're doing, driving her to Jacksonville, it's not the rescue you think it is. What are you talking about? Check Diana's backpack. The inside pocket, the one with the zipper. You'll find documents. Court documents that Celeste probably hoped you'd never see. Why would there be court documents in Diana's backpack? Because Diana took them from Marcus's office months ago. We found out she had them when we were packing for this trip, but Marcus told her she could keep them. He thought she should know the truth about her mother eventually. Vanessa paused. Go ahead. Check. I'll wait. Simon glanced at Diana in the rearview mirror. She'd fallen asleep, exhausted from the emotional weight of the day. Her backpack sat on the seat beside her. What am I supposed to find? Simon asked. Psychiatric evaluations from St. Mary's Hospital in Jacksonville. Celeste has been institutionalized twice in the last 3 years. Both times for what the doctors called delusional protective disorder. She became convinced Diana was in danger when there was no evidence to support it. She made scenes at Diana's school, accused Marcus of things that never happened, called child services with false reports. That's why she lost custody, Mr. Simon. Not because Marcus had better lawyers. Because a judge reviewed the evidence and determined that Celeste was not mentally stable enough to care for Diana. The supervised visits were denied because her delusions were getting worse, not better. Simon felt his conviction waver for the first time. You're lying. Am I? Check the backpack. Read the evaluations yourself. See the diagnosis in black and white from licensed psychiatrists. Vanessa's voice softened. I know you think you're saving Diana, but you're delivering her to a woman who believes in threats that don't exist, who sees danger in every shadow. The court took Diana away to protect her. And now you're undoing that protection because of a story Celeste told you on the phone. Simon's hand trembled as he reached back toward Diana's backpack. His fingers found the main zipper, then felt along the inside until he located a smaller pocket he hadn't noticed before. Go ahead, Vanessa said quietly. Open it. Then ask yourself, who's really the villain in this story? Simon's hand froze on the zipper as Vanessa's words echoed in his mind. You're delivering my stepdaughter directly to an unstable woman who lost custody for a reason. Everything just changed. Simon thought he knew who the villain was. But what if he's been wrong this whole time? Who do you believe, Vanessa or your gut instinct? Drop your thoughts below. The convoy continued north on I-95, red and blue lights flashing in rhythm with Simon's racing heartbeat. His hand kept drifting toward Diana's backpack, then pulling back. Open it. Don't open it. Trust Celeste. Trust the evidence. His mind was a battlefield. Vanessa had hung up 5 minutes ago, her final words still echoing. Read the documents. Then decide if you're really saving her. Simon's fingers brushed the backpack zipper again. What if Vanessa was telling the truth? What if he was driving Diana toward danger instead of away from it? But what if this was just another manipulation, another way to control the narrative? Simon. He jerked his hand back. Diana had stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. Yes, sweetheart. Is everything okay? You seem tense. Simon forced his voice to stay calm. Just focused on driving. Hey, can I ask you something about your mom? Diana sat up straighter. Okay. What do you remember about her? About living with her? Diana's face softened with memory. She was always there. Like, really there. She'd help with homework and make up silly songs about multiplication tables. She'd let me help cook dinner even when I made a mess. We'd read together every night. She did all the voices for the characters. Diana paused. Why? Just curious. Did she ever seem scared? Worried about things that maybe weren't real? Diana's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Like, did she worry someone was trying to hurt you when they weren't? No. She worried normal stuff. Like making sure I looked both ways before crossing streets. Making sure I ate vegetables. Diana's voice grew quieter. She worried about Daddy working too much and forgetting about us. But that did happen, so I guess she was right to worry. Simon nodded slowly, but the doubt wouldn't leave. Children's memories were filtered through innocence. What if Diana remembered her mother through the lens of a child who didn't understand mental illness? The convoy exited I-95, and Officer Martinez's voice came through on Simon's phone, which he'd connected to the car's speaker system. We're about 10 minutes from the destination address. How's everyone holding up back there? We're okay, Simon managed. But he wasn't okay. His hand found the backpack again. This time, he didn't pull back. His fingers unzipped the hidden inner pocket, and he felt the crisp edge of folded papers. He pulled them out with trembling hands. Official letterhead, St. Mary's Psychiatric Hospital, Jacksonville, Florida. Court-ordered evaluation. Patient, Celeste Marie Hartley. Simon's eyes scanned the document as he drove, his heart sinking with every line. Patient presents with persistent delusional beliefs regarding daughter's safety. Claims of emotional abuse by ex-husband that could not be substantiated. Multiple calls to Child Protective Services with concerns deemed unfounded by investigators. Diagnosis: delusional disorder, persecutory type, with protective fixation on minor child. There was more. A second evaluation from 6 months later. Patient's condition has not improved with medication. Continued insistence that daughter is being systematically erased from family unit. Court recommends supervised visitation only until patient demonstrates sustained stability. Simon's hands shook so badly he nearly dropped the papers. Everything Celeste had told him. The erasure, the isolation, Diana being made invisible. What if those were her delusions? What if she'd planted those ideas in Diana's head during their limited contact? What if? Simon, what's that? Diana's voice was small, curious. She'd seen him reading something. Simon's throat went dry. Just some papers. Nothing important. Are those from my backpack? Diana, did you know these were in here? She nodded. I found them in Daddy's office. I wanted to know why I couldn't see Mommy anymore. The words were too big, but I knew they were about her. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Do they say she's sick? Simon couldn't answer. Because the documents did say that. They said Celeste was delusional, unstable, potentially dangerous to Diana through her unfounded paranoia. But then Simon remembered Diana's face when she talked about being cropped out of photos. The resignation in her voice when she said, "He says that every time." The journal she kept hidden under her mattress, documenting her own erasure. That wasn't planted. That was real. "We're approaching the destination," Officer Martinez announced. Simon looked up. They were pulling into a modest apartment complex, Riverside Gardens, the sign read, though it was neither particularly riverside nor garden-like. Faded blue siding, concrete walkways, cars that had seen better decades. And standing in front of Building C, illuminated by the parking lot lights, was a woman. She was small, maybe 5'3", with dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. She wore jeans and an oversized sweater, and the moment the convoy pulled into the parking lot, she started running toward them. "Mommy!" Diana screamed, pressing her face against the window. "Mommy, I'm here." Celeste ran with her arms outstretched, tears streaming down her face, moving toward the car like Diana was the only thing in the world that mattered. Simon's hand hovered over the door lock button. He had maybe 3 seconds to decide. Lock the doors. Keep Diana in the car. Demand that Celeste explain the psychiatric evaluations. Show her the documents. Get answers before reuniting them. Or unlock the doors. Trust his gut. Trust Diana's memories. Trust that sometimes the system gets it wrong. That sometimes courts believe the parent with money over the parent with love. "Simon, unlock the door." Diana was pulling at the handle, desperate. "Please. That's my mom." Officer Martinez was exiting her patrol car, watching the scene unfold, waiting to see what Simon would do. Celeste was 20 feet away. 15. 10. "Please, Simon." Diana's voice broke. "I need my mom." Simon's finger touched the lock button. His entire body was shaking. In his other hand, he still held the psychiatric evaluation that said Celeste Hartley was delusional, that she saw dangers that didn't exist, that she'd lost custody to protect Diana from her own mother's paranoia. But he also heard Diana's voice. "She made me feel like I mattered." Celeste reached the car, pressing her hands against the window, her face a mess of tears and desperate love. "Diana. Oh God, Diana." Diana's hand was on the door handle. Simon's finger was on the lock button. The police escort waited. The psychiatric evaluation lay in his lap. And Simon had to choose, right now, this second, who to believe. His finger moved. "I can't believe I'm leaving you here. But I need to know, do you trust Simon's gut instinct or Vanessa's evidence?" This story isn't over, not even close. If you want part 2, you need to do 3 things right now. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and comment part 2 below. Because what happens when that car door opens will change everything, and I won't continue this story unless I know you're actually invested. So prove it, comment part 2 right now.